Hey everybody, welcome to the Paranormal Rush Hour. I'm your host, Ryan Rush, and tonight I'm going to be talking about Sasquatch Research. It's something I know a little bit about. I actually know more about Sasquatch investigation. I've done a little bit of research myself, but it's not what I would call exactly like what I do. Anyway, so I think it's pretty neat though that people actually, have collected enough information to study them, because there is enough information out there about them. And a lot of it is true, a lot more of it than you think. And what I mean by that is that there's so much stuff that just sounds far-fetched when you talk about this particular subject. It's not saying that it isn't far-fetched, but there's a certain reality to it that a lot of people don't really want to see sometimes, and that makes it difficult to well, I think I might be getting a little too deep too early. Don't go too deep too early. Let's get away from that. All right. Check it out. Let's talk about this. Last night, okay, I was at my house and I was on my back porch, and it was fairly late, around so I think around 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that. It was pretty late. And this was neat though, because it was like such a bright moon last night, and it still is tonight. It was very clear. And I went out in my yard because I kept hearing a knock, a single like knock in the woods. The woods border my backyard. There's like about a acre of cleared land, and then the woods start. So this was off in the woods, and so I was walking up to the wood line where my backyard is, the border where my backyard is, and I'd hear that knock, and then it was like it would a few minutes would go by, and there'd be another one in another direction, and then another few minutes would go by and there'd be another one in the same direction. Then another few minutes would go by, there'd be another one over here. And so after a few times of about that same pattern, I heard my dogs had come up there, and they started barking, of course, like they've been doing tonight too. It's been driving me crazy. But anyway, they were beside me, and I heard like these loud, and I don't mean loud like well, I don't know that loud's the best term because they weren't really they did loud volume wise. It was more like it was a different kind of sound than you'd hear a dog or something make. It was more like a flopping sound, like a thumping sound, and it sounded extremely heavy, like a heavy foot going down on the ground. And I heard two of those, just like doom, doom, and it was almost like I could feel the ground shake. And it was crazy. And I saw something like fly in front of me, like I don't want to say. I mean, it's not. It was dark. Okay, where I was, the moonlight was not shining through on this part, and there was a little clearing, like a little trail that goes up to the building I'm at now. There's a little trail, and the moonlight did not shine on it whatsoever. And so, I mean, I could see a little bit of a silhouette, but that was it. And it moved fast across that trail. And it was crazy though, because I knew something had moved. And I I had I had my phone out recording actually. I was really just trying to get audio because it was so dark. But my dogs were barking so much I couldn't hear it when I listened to it. So I'm gonna have to go back and see if I can edit it a little bit and see if I can amplify um, those sounds. See if I picked up those footsteps because that would be neat. But I saw something last night. I'll tell you what, that moved fast, and I can't say for sure what it was because I didn't see it for sure. But I know it's out here, so I'm assuming. Anyway, all right. Well, let's talk about this. Okay, when you get into the world of Sasquatch, there's really two different types of researchers. Okay, the first one I call the seekers. Okay, the seekers are the ones that go out and look for them. They try to find them. Um, they want to get them on camera. Typically, that those are the seekers. Those are the ones who um, they seek them out. Basically, that's why I call them that. Now, this is my terminology. This is Ryan terminology here. Nothing official about it. Anyway, this is a more official term though. There's the second type, which are habituators. Okay, that's more what I would put myself in the category of. Um, well, you see, I mean, I've done my share of researching, and I don't even like to use that word because it's not what I've done. It's not truly research, and I haven't gone by any type of scientific method or anything like that. Um, I've hypothesized that's about as close to a scientific method as I've gotten to any step of it, I guess. But that's about it. Um, anyway, no, the habituators are the ones who typically haven't sought out the situation that they have. They weren't the ones that had just a vested interest in going out and finding them, or even a vested interest in the Sasquatch whatsoever. A lot of people who have this type of situation, where they live on property with them and things like that. A lot of those people just never were into the paranormal subjects and stuff at all. It's not anything that they sought out. Um, and that's the main difference a lot of the time. Um, no, I mean, like, I had an interest in it for sure. I always did. And a lot of that is because I just always had an interest in the paranormal, as in general. And I always loved nature and the woods and stuff like that, and I always thought it was just a really cool concept, that there could be something like a Sasquatch running around out there. And it turns out there is. Um, there's no doubt about that. I know that a lot of a lot of the people that are watching me and listening to me, um, and look, I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. I'm not trying to convince anyone that they exist. Okay. That's for you to find out on your own for yourself. The only person that can uh, convince you of that is you, by typically by seeing it with your own two eyes. That's usually how it happens. That's how you become that, or that's how you can go from just being a believer to a knower, to knowing they exist. That's how it happened for me. And that's why I know that you can't convince anyone through videos, through, audio recordings, through pictures, through whatever. You can't do it because it takes a real life experience for someone to know beyond any doubt that they exist. And that's just the way it is. And it's like that with a lot of things, I often equate things like this, though, to relate things like this. It's late. Um, to a tiger. Okay, think about, all right, if somebody went out in the woods and was like, came back. Okay, so they say we didn't have zoos and we didn't have the National Geographic Channel and Discovery Channel and crap like that, PBS and stuff. We didn't have any of that. No nature shows, uh, no magazines. Stuff, pictures. No way of knowing what a tiger would be. And someone goes out in the woods and they're like, "Man, I saw this massive cat. Man, it was orange with black stripes and had these fangs, and he roared at me." And people would be like, if you didn't know it existed, you didn't ever heard of one, you'd be like, what is wrong with this dude, man? That's what I'd be like, and because that's a way more far-fetched thing to me to hear about, an orange and black cat, huge cat out in the woods. I mean, at least, the Sasquatch are very similar to us. So, it would make more sense that something like us would exist, in my opinion, in my logic. That's something I think. Anyway, let's get back on track here, wherever that may be. All right, but anyway, both both of these things are important because they both give you information that is extremely important to this subject. I mean, without the people who go and look for them, and without the people who go and try to interact with them, you wouldn't have any information on them. We wouldn't know anything about them. Okay, that's the thing. It's important. Okay, I know a lot of the time, and a lot of these, there's a lot of researchers out there who are to blame for this. Um, but a lot of people don't get taken seriously with this subject. Well, that's because there's a lot of legend associated with it. There's a lot of lore surrounding all of it. There's legend, and that's the thing. It's when you're talking about a legend actually existing, you're shifting a paradigm for real. Um, so it's something that's profound, because I can tell you, there's been several times that I've questioned reality. I feel like, whoa. This doesn't happen in the world I thought we lived in. And, there's a lot of time it took me a while to come to terms with things I saw. And I'll get to those eventually. Um, anyway, let's see. You know, this is one other thing. A lot of people, a lot of these people who go out there and do that, and I'm not putting anyone down for what they do whatsoever, because you do what works. But there's no wrong way. There's no wrong way to go out there and do this. Okay, there's no set. There's ethics. You want to approach it with the same courtesy as you'd approach studying a group of humans, and that's a fact. Um, but there's no wrong way to do it as long as you're doing it um, in an ethical and respectful way. You can use any method you like, as long as you're not going out with guns and killing. That's your goal. Um, which that's not ever gonna end well for you. I can tell you that right now. If that's your goal and you actually do run into one and they know that's your intention, you're freaking done, son. I can tell you that. You ain't outrunning them. You ain't putting them down, man. They don't go down for us. Okay. So you need to be respectful. That's the number one thing with them. Okay. You need to be respectful. You don't go out there and you don't go tromping through their spots. Okay. You don't go touching and moving their structures, the stuff they build and things like that. You treat that with respect. You go out there, you go out of your way to walk around them, to not get too close, to tell them, speak aloud to them, okay, what you're out there doing, okay, why you're there. Tell them. Don't. That's the thing. This is all stuff that works for me that I'm talking about, okay? I know I kind of got off on that, but it was kind of coming to me and I needed to get it out there while I could. But that's the thing. That's what works for me going out, but it will work for you too if you're interested in doing this or something, or if you already do this and you aren't having good results. Respect goes the farthest with them. That's just that's all there is to it. Okay, you show respect out there. You're in their home. Okay, that's where they live. You show them the same respect that you would show someone else while you're in their home. Okay, now, granted, I don't go ask permission to go out there, but I don't forget the fact that they live there. Okay, and they know it's for all of us. It's not, they don't take claim over it. But there are certain, the thing is, a lot of people don't recognize the things I do out there. They don't go looking for structures. And that's another thing I want to talk about is the structures. When you go out there, if you're going to be researching or whatever, you're going to be out there investigating. That's a term I like to use more because that's more of what I do. When I go out there and examine structures and stuff like that, I'm investigating more so than researching because I don't have anything to back it against, Anyhow, that's another thing altogether. But I'm trying to figure out what was making all that noise. Anyway, sorry. But I go out there, and when I am investigating, there's certain things they build, and it's interesting because these structures, let me give you an example, and I might be able to put a clip in here for you, to a picture to show you what they look like. And if I do, it's going to be right here. Um, anyway, yeah, so there's an X structure that everyone knows about who has been out there in the woods, in their areas. Everyone who's been out there has seen this. More than likely, even if they don't know they've seen it, they've seen it if they've gone out to active Sasquatch territories. And that's the reason they've seen it, is because that is a boundary marker. That is 100% what it is. It has been, I have seen it in places, I have seen it constructed in places. Like I've been somewhere and then the next day there was an X put there. Things like that. I know for a fact that it marks a boundary, it marks a territory. Okay. Now, I don't think that it's meant for us to understand. I don't think that it's meant for us. I think it might be meant for other things that could possibly be out there. Or possibly other groups, just to let them know that, this area, there's a group in this area or something like that. I mean, we put fences around our homes, so, but this isn't like a fence, I don't think. I think this is more like a sign, okay? The origin of the X is interesting, though. Okay. The origin of the X is, it's like, I don't know that this is, in fact, the origin of it, but there's, like, I know back in the day, Native Americans had an X symbol that meant welcome. It actually meant like safe crossings. And so, a lot of the thing is they assume that the Sasquatch adopted it from them, or they adopted it from the Sasquatch, which is what I think is a more likely scenario instance. I think that's what actually happened personally, because I think they're much more ancient than we are. I'm not going to get into that tonight, though. We're talking about investigations and research. And see, the thing is, the Sasquatch are a big part of the paranormal, because they, okay, I don't want to get, I've already stated in my first Sasquatch video, I don't want to get too much into the woo, the supernatural aspects of them. But I can't deny things I've seen, okay? I can't deny that. You can take it as whatever you want, but I only speak the truth on this show. And if I say it, it's true. As far as my experiences go, I'm not going to say that about anything else except for what I tell you about my personal stuff. But if I tell you something personally, it's true. Okay. That being said, well, I think I'm gonna leave that out for right now, as a matter of fact, because I'm talking about investigations, but I'll come back to this point in just a bit. Let me talk about this though. Okay. So anyway, but what I was saying about that before I move on, you try everything. Okay, you try everything and you find what works. Some things may work in certain areas for you that don't work in other areas for me. Some things may work with certain ones that don't work with others, as far as the subjects go. You just never know, and that's why you have to try a lot of stuff. If you're not getting results, you have to try other methods. You have to do that until you find what works. And don't let anyone ever tell you that their way is the way, because it may be the way for them, and it may be the way for a few other people too. Who knows? But it is not the only way, and it is not the only way you need to um, look at it. I mean, I take things from a few people's approaches. There are things, gold nuggets people have given me, okay, that have really helped, that really, brought things up a notch. It's hard to say though if it would have worked in another situation. I can't say that, but basically, you just have to try it to see. But always document it for yourself. Okay, most importantly, for yourself. Always document everything. Everything you do. Whether you write it down, whether you record it, whatever. Just document it somehow. Depending on how you want to document it. Most people want their own evidence, their own recordings, their own audio, their own video, their own pictures, whatever. Uh, Most people want that for themselves. A lot of people that have that stuff don't broadcast it. They don't show it to the world. They have it for themselves. They'll let a few people see it or hear it or whatever, but typically they don't. Um, it's just for them. But that's the thing. They went out there and they got it. They documented it, and they can say, this is what I found. This is what I believe. You know, what makes me believe this is, they can, there's a lot of benefit to it, but just mainly for yourself. Always document it. That's important. Uh, anyway, but you have to determine areas too. The easiest way to do that is to identify structures, like, for instance, you go out into the woods and there's an X structure that you see. You find one. And a lot of the time, you'll find them on the side of trails, and you'll find them right where the woods start getting thick. Um, there's a lot of different places that you'll find them, but it's typically always somewhere where you can tell there needs to be a boundary. There is a boundary of some sort already, like a trail, like a transition from a trail to the woods. On that border, they'll put an X there, typically a few feet back, but it'll be visible from the trail a lot of the time. Sometimes not, but I've walked off trail and found them easily. So, it just depends on, I guess, a lot of things with the foliage and stuff, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, I guess it depends on what time of year it was built, is what I'm saying. But learn to recognize them. When you learn to recognize them, then you can find their areas. You'll know what's what. The other things that you can look for are like tree bends. Okay, but not just any tree bends. You can't just go around thinking every tree that's bent is something that Sasquatch did, because it's not. Okay, so, you have snow load, you have other factors like swelling, you have dampness of the wood and stuff, and the way that you have a lot of things that could weigh a tree down and make it curve. But the thing is, if a Sasquatch does it, it's gonna be pinned down at the top somehow. Okay, it's gonna be anchored to the ground or to something else. Uh, you're going to be able to tell typically that something did it and it wasn't natural. Okay. A lot of the time that's the case. If you look at it, you're like, okay, you can obviously see nature could have done this, but probably didn't, because it's highly unlikely that, this limb would fall here and only bend this tree. And how in the world did it bend this tree from over here anyway when it fell over? That's the kind of stuff you have to look at. Be logical. with everything. Don't let something, because you want something to be evidence, don't let it be evidence unless it really is. Just because you want it to be, and just because you're hyped up about something, or you found you an area and oh, there's a treatment and stuff, but you can tell that it probably wasn't done by the Sasquatch, and you're like, you just want it to be evidence so bad, but don't let it, because you'll find plenty of it if you look. Okay, don't think that that's the only treatment you'll ever find. Okay, it's definitely not, especially if you live in the South. But anyway, that's another thing I want to say. But anyway, anyhow, um, I don't really even know what got me wanting to make a video about researching, but there's a friend of mine. He's a really good guy, and I really like him a lot. He's one of those people that you can tell is just a good person who won't do anybody wrong and stuff. That's the vibe you get from him, and I'm sure I'm not the only person that gets that vibe from him. But he's a good guy, and he's a researcher. He goes out and looks for this stuff, and he's watched my Frosted Forest Sasquatch channel for a few years. And he had reached out to me and invited me to be part of his Facebook group and stuff like that. And I really enjoy it and stuff. It's really interesting and all that. And um, there's always something interesting to see. But the thing is, he was talking a lot about this stuff, about researchers, and how it's this way in the Bigfoot community, which I don't like to really even refer to it as, because there isn't really one. I mean, that when facts comes facts, you have friends, you have people that are really cool there that will help you and talk to you and give you advice, and encourage you and stuff. You always have that. There's always cool people, but there's always some shitheads too. Always. And the thing is about those kind of people is they like you as long as you're not doing better than them, as long as you're not doing as good as them, or something like that. And I've noticed that, because with my channel, I've never tried to be the best. I've never, been the one that's like always wanted to, be the king of, research or whatever. It's never been me. But I've always enjoyed sharing what I have, the situation I have with, where I am. And that's basically all I ever wanted to do, was network with people and learn. And because I didn't know about this stuff like other people did before I started this. And, now it's been a few years and I've learned a lot. And, it's different. But, before I asked people questions, and I tried to learn as much as I could, because I didn't know everything. And a lot of people are like that. And, if someone reaches out to you and something, you need to help them out. I mean, that's what this is about, because it's not a subject you can go to school for. I mean, it's not something that you can just go get formal training for, and you've got to learn from those who have done it. And that's just all there is to it. Yeah, anyway, but, and that's the way I try to be with people, um, yeah, it's been a crazy road with that stuff. I'll tell you that, for a really long time too. It's been I've seen a lot of things as far as people and what they've done in that community. Man, I just stay out of it, to be honest. I do my thing, and that's that. And that's the way I've always wanted to keep it. But anyway, let me get back to this, okay? When you go out there and you're looking for an area, you find the structures and stuff. What you need to do is find their shelters, okay? Their little den areas, their little shelter areas. And the way to do that is to look for, you'll see it. Recognizing den and shelter areas is not like the easiest thing to do because a lot of people think that they construct these things. They have like massive structures and stuff that they build off these huge trees and all that, but it's not the case. You typically, what they do, I've found, is that they take things nature has already made, like bent stuff, that overhangs and stuff like that, and they'll use it for framework a lot of the time, or not even that at all. They'll just lay under it or something, but they always use something that nature's already made because they're too smart. Okay, they're too smart to expend the energy and the time and the effort and all that. Sorry, I got a weird noise. And anyway, all that to to build something. They're not going to do that. Okay, they're too smart, too intelligent to do that. They could do it. They're capable, but they're not going to. They're not going to build something on a large scale if they don't have to. Okay, that's just how it is. So anyway, so they're not going to have huge structures typically. And if nature blows trees around and stuff, massive trees and all that, they could possibly move them into a certain order or something, to make them something. I mean, they could possibly do that, but typically they won't because there's not going to be that much of that stuff available. It's not going to be all around, unless you're in a certain area that has trees like that are prone to getting blown around, whatever. But anyway, it's not going to be like that everywhere. And the places it is going to be like that are few. Anyway, all right. So, what you have to do though, when you find an area like that, then you have to frequent it. You have to go there often. Okay. What you do to go and build and establish I want to say rapport with them, you know, is you go in there, you show respect like I was talking about earlier. You show them respect. You show them that, you're there, to do not to do any harm to them. You're not going to mess up any of the things that they've made. You're there to just check everything out, basically, and see, what they do. And, you want to learn about them in a good way to let them know that, that's your intention. That's what you're going to do, is to actually vocalize it to them aloud, to go out there and speak to them out loud. And you'll feel stupid because you feel like you're talking to nothing. But you're not talking to nothing, because I can tell you this, because I've had responses from things I've said. Okay. My dogs. And anyway, I've had responses before. And it's very, very interesting stuff. I'll get into that on another show, but because I want to talk about, what to do with investigations tonight. That's what we're going into. What we've been going into. I mean, yeah, anyway. All right. So you make yourself familiar, you talk out loud. you know, being respectful is probably the most imperative thing that you can do. Really, honestly, showing them respect is what you have to do. That's just key. Okay, that's what's gonna make everything cool with them. And not saying they're hard to get along with to begin with, because they're really not. Think about all the times you've been in the woods and nothing's ever messed with you, and it'll keep being like that forever. They're not out to mess with you. They're typically going to avoid you at all costs. You're not going to know that they're. That's what they want typically. So, there's no need to worry about any of that. But it's different for people who have them living beside you. You have to be a little more conscientious that they're your neighbors, you know, and you kind of want to treat the situation like a neighbor type situation. I've heard someone say that before too, and that's exactly how I look at it. Um, you have to show them a, a sort of courtesy where sometimes you talk to your neighbors, sometimes you don't, sometimes you just see them passing by, and that's the way you treat it. That's the way I treat it. You don't go engage them all the time. You don't do that, and just like you don't do that with your neighbors, you let them have their space, just like they let you have your space, and that's the way you treat this because they're not dumb animals. Okay. So anyway, that's what you do, man. You go in there, you build rapport with them. You know, you show them that you're not going to hurt them. You're not going to mess up their stuff. You're not going to go in there and run them out or attempt to run them out. You're not going to come in there acting like a moron and start firing guns and crap. That's the thing. And if you are going in there and you are packing heat, you definitely want to announce it to them. Tell them it's not because of them. This is for your protection against other things. Um, because one of my fears, one of the biggest fears I have out in the woods are hogs, man, wild hogs, boars, and so I don't like them one bit. And they'll eat you, bone and all, and nobody will find anything. So that's what I want a gun for if I'm going out in the woods. Um, for a while, I'm definitely going to be strapped, that's for sure. But I'm not going to go out here and I'm not going to go into any Sasquatch area that I know is a Sasquatch area. I'm not going to go in there with a gun. No, I just won't do it. There's no reason for me to do that in a Sasquatch area, in an active Sasquatch area. There's no reason for anyone to carry a gun. The only reason you'd pull a gun is out of fear, okay? And there's no reason to fear it. All right, I know that's hard to believe, but whatever. Anyway, um, I can't, uh, I can't teach you exactly what I'd like to, and have you believe it. That's another thing about this subject. It's just crazy. I never thought I'd be saying half the stuff I say about it too. That's another thing. It's like I'm not crazy. I'm not, one of those people that looks at things out in the la land. I like to keep it real, keep it here on Earth. But as I point at the aliens, but anyway, no, for real. Yeah. Oh. Anyway, all right. I think that's really about all I was going to say about it. But basically, some of the best advice I can give you if you're wanting to be, uh, if you're wanting to have any kind of interactions with them or anything like that, um, is just to go out there with an open mind and an open heart. And don't go out there with any prejudices about them or about, whatever. Just go out there and accept things as they are. Okay. That's what you got to do. And be respectful. Above all else, be respectful. Now, another thing that goes along the lines of respect, and I get asked this question a lot, is trail cams. Why don't you put up a trail cam? Trail cam this, trail cam that. Put it up. Get them on. Get a picture, whatever. Okay, first of all, I don't want a picture. I have pictures. I don't need anymore. I've seen them. I don't need a picture. Um, but the thing is, trail cams are probably the worst idea if you're trying to actually establish any kind of, rapport with them, because what you're doing is you're completely invading their privacy. Okay. You're taking and putting a camera inside their home without their permission, and you're trying to conceal it anyway. I mean, you're trying to hide it, be a clandestine type thing. So, you can't. I don't know. I mean, it shows great disrespect for them by not respecting their privacy and putting up a camera in their house, basically. Yeah, I can tell you if someone was doing that to me, man, I'd be pissed. If they came up in my house putting anything like that in there to spy on me, no, son, I'd be mad and I would not ever like that person. Okay? You treat them the same way. They're your neighbors. You treat them the same way you would your neighbors. If you wouldn't go put a trail cam up in your neighbor's house, don't put one up in the woods to look at the Sasquatch. Okay? It's just that. That's how I feel about it. And I cannot change my outlook on that. Because, as a habituator or whatever, you live with it. Okay? You got to remember, you live with it. You can't go out there acting like a fool and not embracing what you have, but also being foolish and not being careful. There's a lot of things to consider, especially if you have a family and things like that. There's a lot to consider when you take the step to keep going in the direction you were traveling for a few years. I mean, that's what happened to me. I had to take a break. Things got crazy. Things got profound, and I was like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this because things were getting weird, and and I made the decision to keep going. So sometimes what you just got to do. You got to give yourself time to process it. It's often a hard thing to accept is what you're seeing with your eyes, and that's hard thing. That's a really hard thing to do, is to not accept what you see with your eyes. I mean, you got to take time to get that going. But yeah, anyway, I mean, it's inevitable. Anyone who does that, anyone who goes out there will end up having some sort of experience that you can't explain. And that's just how it goes with them. You will have some kind of thing happen that is just crazy and you really can't explain it. So, yeah, I don't know. That's that, though. So, I guess that's all I'm going to say about it. I think it's probably about that time. People are probably tired of listening to me. I don't know. I could probably do these probably a lot longer, though, than I do. Well, you probably wouldn't listen to it or watch it if it was any longer. I don't know. When I have guests on, which is going to be soon, I'm going to have guest callers and stuff. that's gonna be really soon. So, yeah, I might do longer episodes then when I got somebody else to talk to, But right now it's just me. And I'm gonna keep doing my shows when it's just me because I enjoy it. I like to do it, and I like to talk about this stuff. So if you guys like to listen to it, I thank you so much, and I really do. I can't thank you enough for all the awesome support that you guys have given me just by watching my videos and subscribing. I mean, just like in the last week, I've had so many views. I mean, well, way more views than I thought I would, and everything started so good, and I just hope it keeps going that way. And I'm gonna try to keep putting out good stuff for you guys. And anyway, I just really appreciate everybody checking it out, and hopefully we won't do anything but grow and spread the truth together.